All right. So before I move into like the main part of why we are here, right? I'd like to first of all give us a breakdown of everything you're about to learn. So in the next 3 months, right, you'll be here learning about front-end development. In my own class, of course, full stack, that's front-end and back-end. You also have your back-end stuff. But you'll be here learning about front-end development. Now, what is front-end development? I can't tell you about front-end development until I bring you to like the basic aspect of what development is in general. So please let me know if I'm fast or if you need me to explain anything. Um, First of all, I'd like to explain what programming is. Have you heard of programming before? So if they say programming, what do you think programming is? Write code, good. The same writing code. All right. One thing about programming is basically giving your computer set of instructions. Writing code is part of programming. But the major thing about programming is you are giving your computer set of instructions to perform so it can give you a specific task. That's what programming is. Now, you have actually been indirectly programming your computer. So if you're watching a movie now on Netflix, if you press play, that's a program. But it is not coding, but that's also a program. Why? You're telling your computer to what? Pause. That's an instruction. You understand it now? That's what programming is. So basically what we'll be doing in the next 3 months is programming. Why? Because once we give our computer a set of instructions, to perform so that we can get specific results. You understand it now? That's basically what programming is. Now, in programming, you have what we know as programming languages. If I'm speaking with Mr. Kelvin now, I would like, speak with him. Language. Is it Benin language? Is it English? Is it Pidgin? Is it Wari? Anyone. As long as what? We are conversing in a particular language that both of us understand. That's exactly how you communicate with your computer. So your computer is saying that, okay, I need you to communicate with me, but in a language that I understand. That's why we have programming languages. You understand it now? So programming languages are those languages using what communicating with computer. Now, we have two main programming languages. The first is your low level language, and then you have your high level language. Now, your low level language, you probably heard of binary before, computer language, that computer only understands ones and zeros. You don't hear it before. That's low level language that is only as humans, so you can understand what low level is, but they are basically what machine language. Now, when we're not talking about high level languages are those languages that are written in a syntax, like in a normal human language syntax that your computer can understand. You understand? Yeah. So, for instance, you can write a particular program in English. As long as you're writing it in English, what do you have? That is an high level language. You understand it now? That's basically what high level languages are. So, again, your low level language are machine language. Your high level languages are languages that your computer understands. I'll explain to everybody. Good. Now, I'm sorry, high level languages are languages that you understand and also your computer understands. But what's the difference between high level and low level? Why do we use high level? Why do we use low level? Low level, like I said, is basically your computer's language. That's what they understand. Your high level is now like those languages that you write that not get converted into low level that the computer understands. Does it make sense? So again, you have your low level. Now waiting computer understand that. There is high level, what you understand. So when you now write the high level, it gets converted into low level so that your computer will now understand. That is basically what your low level is. All right. Now, moving on. We have a lot of high level languages. We have Python, JavaScript, Java, Dart, a lot of them. Probably heard of Java before. I think that's the most popular one. A lot of us do. So that's Java, JavaScript, a lot of them. Now, in under programming, you have several aspects under programming. So you have software engineering, which is what you are doing now. You have product design. So product design are those people that are there. They are basically designing their product, designing the user interface, and you probably designing the user interface, how a particular product is going to look like. So for instance, you have Facebook. Before Facebook was built, it was first designed. So before you could use them, they have to like design it first so that they will not build what they design. That's what product design is. And that is also what programming. So what software development or software engineering is now building those projects that they've designed. So for instance, the way I use Facebook now, it is accessible to you online or on your phone. That's what software, they built it for you. But before building, they first have to design. That's what product design is. Now, on that software engineering, right, we're talking about building software applications. And that is what we're going to be majoring on in the next 3 months. Now, under software engineering, you have several aspects. You have mobile development, you have web development, um, you have game development. So a lot of us play PS5, right? So the how exactly are we playing those games? Those things are developed, especially the disc that are the programs that are actually saying they are all what that's game development. You understand it now? So, but we are not focused on that. We are focused on web development, building web applications. So, what are web applications? For instance, this is a web application, something that you run on your browser that has what something.com or .ng or something that you are trying to run on your browser. That's a website. So this one also techedu.dev. This is a website where you are running it on a browser. Similarly, you have these two, the course builder. It has .com. ChatGPT.com is also a what? Is also a website. You know, so I know ChatGPT has a mobile app and they also have a website. Those things are two different things. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building web applications, explaining how to build web applications. So far, everything I've been explaining, is it clear to us? Okay. So one thing I also like is that if you know that you do not get one particular place, do not hesitate to call me back because I want everybody to follow through in this class. Mr. Shegun, good morning. Can you hear me? Mr. Shegun, can you hear me? Good morning. I think if you are speaking, you are
Good morning, Mr.
unmuted.
Paul. I can hear you. I can
Yes, you
hear
are
you.
muted rather. Can you say something now?
Hear me.
I'm coming. I think it's my speaker.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can't hear you. In case you you can just use the chat, please. You can just probably in the chat because I can't hear you at the moment. All right. So okay, moving on. All right, good morning. So okay. All right. So let's move on. So now we'll be able to talk about what programming is. We've spoken about the what software engineering is, right? And we've also been able to give us the basis of what we're going to be doing for the next 3 months. So now, moving on, I see we're going to be doing web applications, right? We're going to be building web applications. Now, how do we build web applications? You need to understand two major things in web applications. First is that while building websites, right, your websites are made up of two major components rather. They are made up of two major components. The first component is the front end. The second component is the back end, which we probably explained to you before, registering. So you have your front end and then you have your back end. Your front end deals with what your user is going to see. So if you go to facebook.com, what will you see? So let us try it. Let's try it together. So let's say you go to facebook.com. Now, what exactly are you seeing here? So you can see Facebook, right? You can see this text. You can see this. You understand? These are what? This is basically the front end. What can you see? Do you understand it now? That's your front end. I don't know if if you are getting what I'm trying to say. Is it clear? Anything that you can see and interact with on your website is the front end. You have a question? Product design. Good question. Good question. So, as a front end developer, let me start with product design. As a product designer, right, you are only building the design, right? So you are only going to see the design. But as a front end developer, you are going to build something that your user interacts with. You understand it now? Now, if you are doing product design, right, can you see this? It is just going to be like this on the design page. You understand it now? But right here now, I cannot interact with it. I can write my, you know what, let me just write a particular, I can write my email, gmail.com. You understand? I can write my Gmail, I can write my password. I've just interacted with this, isn't it? You understand? I can put my password and then I can log in. You understand it now? This is what we know as your front end. Have you gotten the differences now? So as a front end developer, you build something that your user interacts with. As a product designer, you just build a design that your front end developer can now follow. You understand? Why building something that is interactive? That's what it is. So again, as a front end developer, all you do is that what you focus mainly on what building something that your user can see and interact with. That's very, very important. If your user cannot interact with your website, that website is nothing. It's just a static page. But once they cannot interact with it, that's what you do as a front end developer. So now, that's the about front end. What's now the back end? Your back end is your server database. It can be your server, it can be your database. Sometimes a lot of people use combined a lot of people say your server is your database. You understand? Because your server can actually have all of these things in one. But it is not always true. You understand? So I will get to that place. Now, when we talk about your server is like we're talking about your backend rather. Your backend is like what runs underneath that also makes your product or your project work, but you're not exactly seeing it. So for instance, let me even give a very, very good example. Payment services. If you are making payments, probably you made payments to Paystack before. If you make payment to Paystack, right? How does it work? Yes, you are seeing that, okay, once you click on a particular one account number is generated, you can now pay. Or if you want to pay with card, you can now pay. You are seeing the front end. But how are those payments working? There is a particular string connected to a string in web development. We call it API. There is something what connecting those things together that is making it work. That's what your backend basically does for you. You understand it now? But your front end, you are seeing it on your front end. All of those things are working, they're working. You're interacting with them. That's what front end does. Back end is now probably something that makes your application work, but then you as the user or the users can't actually see it. They can't actually know what's going on. Only the developers know. You understand it now? That's basically what it is. So, do you understand what I just explained? Is it clear? Any question? Is it clear? All right, so we can move on now. So, like it's you that will teach us this week. We've been here for 2 weeks now, last week. So, okay. Now, on that front end development, right? We have some important things that you need to know. Now, I used to tell people that yes, in front end development, I might say you have 3 tools, but there are far more than 3 tools that you need to learn, you need to understand to master front end development. In the end, you don't end up mastering it. There's something that happens when you learn, when you keep learning, you now find out that I don't know anything. You learn again, you think you know, you find out that okay, I don't think I know anything, and then you eventually leave it. That's how front end development is. You just keep learning and you keep learning, you keep improving. So, okay, that's by the side. When we talk about front end development, right, we have 3 main tools that we use in building front end applications. The first is HTML. I've heard of HTML before. Good. We have CSS. I've heard of CSS before. Okay. We have JavaScript. I'm very sure a lot of people have heard of JavaScript. You've heard of JavaScript, right? Good. So now we have HTML, you have CSS, and then you have JavaScript. Your HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. CSS cascading style sheets, while JavaScript is the normal JavaScript. Now, I'm going to explain what all of these things do in details so you can understand how to use them. Now, these things are very, we've not written any code. You just need to understand all of these things first before writing code. It's important. Now, when I say HTML, I said hypertext markup language. What does hypertext markup language do for you as a front-end developer? What it does for you, it has just one work. What it does for you is to what? Allow you write content on your web page. Now, the content that you are writing cannot be text, images, button, icon, logo. But as long as you are writing something on your web page, it is what? HTML. For instance, let's take a look at this. This is HTML. Why? Why is this HTML? Because this is what? Text. You're outputting something to your web page. That's HTML. This form that is here, everything here is what? HTML. This text that says create a page for a celebrity brand of it, it is what? HTML. You understand it now? That is basically what HTML does for you. HTML, again, like I said, is used in what? Creating the content. So it can be text, it can be images, it can be logo, it can be form, as you are seeing it. It can be links, it can be anything, as long as you're trying to write something up. Now, CSS, like I said, stands for cascading style sheet, right? Now, what does cascading style sheet do for you? Cascading style sheet is basically going to help you style your content. That's all. Now, if you notice this place, what's the color here? Black, right? What's the color here? Blue. That's CSS for. That's CSS for you. The Facebook in this place is different from the Facebook here. This Facebook that is here is bigger. So this Facebook that is here is actually bigger than the Facebook here. You understand? That is what this is basically what we know as what? CSS. This is even a logo. So let's carry on. This is a logo. You understand it now? That is basically what CSS will do for you. So as I said, CSS is just basically what? Style it. Now, if you write a form in HTML, this is not how your form is going to look like. Your form is going to be basic. Just write the normal form. But CSS will now help you style. As you can see, this login button has a blue color. This one has a what? A blue color. This one has a green background. Is it clear to you? That's what your CSS will do. Now, the third one, which is JavaScript, now adds functionality to your web page. So, for instance, if you write your email and your password now and they are correct, what will happen? And I click login, what will happen? It will log me into Facebook. That's it. That's what JavaScript does. So, JavaScript is what? Functionality, interactivity. HTML is for what? Just writing those content. While CSS is to what? Style those content. I hope it's clear to you. That's just the three things that you need to know. And if you can understand this, the works of all of these things, you can now start building on it. That it is very, very easy to get. So, any question so far before we move on to the next level? So we are getting closer to writing codes now. Okay. So now there's one more thing that I want to explain before we start writing codes. I explained programming, right? I said we have programming languages. Now, if I'm going to communicate with Mr. Kelvin, let's say Mr. Kelvin speaks English or any language that he speaks. If I'm going to communicate with Mr. Kelvin, how will I communicate with him? I speak Arabic, I speak English, and what will I have to speak? My mouth. That's exactly how it is. How do we now speak with our computer? How do we program it? Our computer does not hear, although there are some models that are actually hears your voice, but it still needs certain medium for it to perform the task that you want it to perform. So that is where code editors come in. Code editors are like a mouthpiece. I personally call them a mouthpiece. Why? Because they are going to help you in connecting, in implementing your ideas that you have. Whatever it is you want to say, whatever it is you want to tell your computer to do, they're going to help you in implementing those things. All you have to do is get them, and then you can now start writing your code. You understand? That is basically what your code editors do. Now, for the code editor that we're going to be using in this class or in this course, we're going to be using an ID called VS Code. I don't know if anybody has VS Code already. So we're going to be using VS Code. So all you have to do is come to Google, then search for VS Code. So once you've searched for VS Code, you should see this one here, the first one that is here. Then click on it and download it. So just click on it. If you're on Windows, you can just download for Windows. If you're on Mac, download for Mac. So click on download for Windows. Then it's going to start downloading. So after it's done downloading, all you have to do is install. So I'm going to pause the recording here and wait for us to download it.